we're going to make one more type of a cell phone stand. There are quite a lot of varieties of this very model. All of them are based on a stripe. First of all, you have to weave a stripe, after which you shape it the way you like. This one is zigzag shaped. I've seen a plastic phone stand shaped like this on the internet. Well, woven stands like this exist already too. A stand shaped this way is also possible. You can bend the edge toward outside like here and get an additional section for keeping note papers, or you can bend it toward inside like in the plastic stand I've seen in the web. But I personally prefer the models like these. They are based on a stripe too, but they are more stable to my mind. So we are going to weave such stands today. You weave a stripe as a base too at first, and then shape it in a definite way. I'm going to show you the way I do. So, cell phone stands based on a stripe. For shaping a stripe this way and making it keep the shape, you cannot do without a wire. I use wire like this, zinc wire, 9/10 mm thick. I bought it in a construction store. It is rather cheap and economical in use. I've cut it into pieces to fit the length of my tubes. Mine are rather short, they are made of newspaper. That's why one tube is too short, so I lengthen it right away to avoid struggling with it later. I've already shown you the way I do in one of tutorials, but let's watch it once again. Insert a piece of wire, then put a tube onto the wire with a thick end this way. Now I drop a bit of glue onto a thin end of a tube. The tubes stick together quite strong. Pull the wire up to the end and get such a long tube with a piece of wire inside. I have to prepare 7 pieces like this. So let's weave a stripe with the help of a loom. We've told a lot about a loom already. The most difficult part is the very beginning, when the poles are not fixed thoroughly enough yet. At first you make an interval between two profiles rather short. In the process of weaving you may shift it further, cause it's becoming easier to keep the shape. The beginning is quite a challenge. After 2 or 3 rows you can pull the working tubes the way you need. So far they are rather loose. So please take a look once again. I've already shown you the process, but let me repeat it once again for the beginners. Insert some ribs or skewers or needles. It is very important to keep the stripe equally wide all along. That's why it is very practical to insert some rigid ribs made of some metal. In my case I'm using umbrella ribs. And weave in the technique of a regular rope. One row you weave in the technique of direct rope, and the following one in the opposite rope. Try your best to make the joints invisible, hide them in the points of interweaving. The tubes are moistened. As for these were tubes, I've been experimenting with the way to paint them. I've mixed colorant, water and soaked coating. I found the recipe, tried and I like it. Three tablespoons of coating is enough for half a liter of water. I'm only starting to weave with these tubes, so I'm going to share my impressions later. It is my first portion of tubes painted this way, so I'm just trying them. Well, I've worn one item with such tubes already and I've liked it, but I haven't noticed much difference. One recipe is colorant mixed with water and acrylic lacquer. Another recipe presupposes using soaked coating instead of lacquer. As far as I understand, there are plenty of different recipes, and actually I'd like to try them all. So far I'm quite satisfied with all the recipes I've tried, both Richard's cocktail and Eden primer. Pull the tubes a bit tighter, but try to keep the poles from bending toward inside. I'm planning to patinate the item with bronze afterwards. That's why I'm using the newspaper tubes painted dark instead of pure white tubes. Continue weaving a stripe. I like to shape my article like this, so I've counted that a stripe 30 centimeters, which is about 12.5 inches long. Here you can see my 32 centimeters long stripe I woven with the help of a loom. Horizontal and vertical lines have helped me to keep both the poles and working tubes parallel. We don't need the ribs anymore, let's take them away. Now you have to shape your stripe this way. That's why you have to step 10 centimeters, about 4 inches from the top. Here I'm pulling the rows a bit apart. It is where we are going to insert the poles. Bend a little and lead the poles through. This step is quite a challenge. There is a piece of wire inside of every pole. So I've inserted the poles at first. Now let's pull them tight. It is very important to fix everything very tight. You can smooth and incline the item the way you need later. Our current task is weaving the stripe further. Lead the working tubes toward this side and continue weaving. Let me repeat please once again that we have to pull the parts together very tight in order to avoid gaps here. I don't insert any ribs here anymore, but anyway I'm trying my best to keep the stripe from narrowing. So weave about 10 centimeters more like this. We've got such a shape, 10 centimeters from both sides. 22 centimeters is the length of this loop. It is actually up to you to choose the size. For me personally, this height is enough to keep my cell phone stable. Take a look please. This stand is rather loose, ours is much more stable, so I do recommend this one to you. The only thing left is to cover with glue, cut carefully, and since there is still wire inside in order to avoid scratching a phone, you can stick an additional tube here to the edge. The item is rather flexible, you can raise it higher or lower. Thanks to the wire inside, it keeps the shape rather well. Plus priming, varnishing, and in my case patinating. I've cut the trunks from both sides and covered both edges with cool glue thoroughly, both the base and the tube. Adjoin the tube. Try the length. I'd like the tube to stick thoroughly, so I do cover the tube with glue as well. This way we hide the wire. Fix the tubes especially thoroughly at the edges to keep it from sticking away. Patinate the stand with water-based acrylic paint. Here is my palette. Try to avoid too much paint on a sponge. The item I've woven looks like this. It is of the shape of an octopus. As for this snail, it is woven based on the same very principle. Look at this part. I've woven it additionally. Originally I woven it like this, then laid the pole through and woven 6 rows more. I just adjoined additional tubes and woven 6 rows more for a leg. There is no wire inside, it is just primed and varnished. I like these stands very much thanks to their stability and the original design. I've patinated the article with bronze. Maybe I've mentioned already that I work in metal trading, so these birthday gifts for my co-worker imitate metal. So I wish you to enjoy the flight of imagination. Good luck to all of you, and all the best!